I'm State Representative Doyle Heffley of the 122nd Legislative District. Thank you for tuning in to this month's edition of my legislative report, where we will discuss an exciting and upcoming project that will boost our tourism industry here in Carbon County. Thanks to local and state lawmakers, along with Governor Tom Corbett, we secured state funding to close key gaps on the Delaware and Lehigh Trail and make improvements to the trail. Conservative estimates suggest that every dollar in state tourism promotion funding has a return on investment of at least $25 in state and local tax revenues derived from tourism-related spending. DCNR's Community Conservation Partnership Program grants for 2012 made an investment of $26.5 million in 198 projects to revitalize communities, create new recreational opportunities, and conserve natural resources throughout Pennsylvania. Included among those projects is the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, which received $250,000 from the Environmental Stewardship Fund to coordinate the Lehigh Valley Greenways Conservation Landscape Initiative, provide technical services to complete key gaps on the Delaware and Lehigh Trail, fund the 2013 mini-grant program, and manage various trail programs. Additionally, Carbon County was awarded $208,000 from the Keystone Recreation, Park, and Conservation Fund for the further development of the Delaware and Lehigh Trail in Weisport and Lehighton boroughs. This money will also make road crossing improvements and include landscaping, signage, and other related site improvements. Here is some footage from a recent press conference I held at the Lehigh Canal to announce the funding with Senators Argel and Senator Udicek, Carbon County Commissioners, and Elisa Garofalo, President and Executive Director of the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor. As we have some exciting news to share with you regarding state grants that were recently awarded to Carbon County. Thanks to our local government officials, or state government officials, and Governor Tom Corbett, we secured state funding to close key gaps in the Delaware-Lehigh Trail to make improvements to the trail. This news comes at a good time for Carbon County. Tourism is one of our top industries, and studies suggest that for every dollar spent in tourism promotion has a return investment of $25 in state and local taxes. Over the recent months, I have spoken with a number of local outdoor and recreational business owners, as well as those in the lodging industry, who say this funding is crucial to Carbon County since our tourism industry is so large. As the trail gets extended, there will be more people that will be using the trail and utilizing the facilities here for overnight stays. Instead of coming out one day, they'll stay 1, 2 to maybe 3 nights. The biking is one part, the mountain biking and the rails, the trails, to preserve our heritage and our culture of the Lehigh Canal and the towpath. But also it parlays into our other outdoor adventure sports that we have here in Carbon County, between the whitewater rafting, the hiking, and these bike trails, all tied together to provide us with some great opportunities for tourism. DCNR's Community Conservation Partnership Program grants for 2012 made an investment of $26.5 million in 198 projects to revitalize communities, create new recreational opportunities, and conserve natural resources throughout Pennsylvania. This $26.5 million investment will leverage $43.2 million in local, county, and private investments, giving every state dollar more power for the public. Including among those projects are the Delaware-Lehigh National Heritage Corridor and funding for Carbon County. I want to thank Elisa Garofalo, President and Executive Director of the Delaware-Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, for her ongoing commitment to improving the tourism industry here in Carbon County. She played a major role in helping to secure these grants, and she's going to further explain these grants and how they will benefit our county. Elisa?
Thanks, Doyle. Thank you, Doyle. I especially appreciate that you could pronounce my name. I do. I want to acknowledge, first off, Doyle and the county commissioners. I have a couple of board members here. Judy Borger's here, and Paul Fogel and Gary Fedorcha are here. And local partners, where I'm going to go into that a little bit more. And our staff person, who's really been the contact person on this, and that is Scott Everett, right over there. And so when we get to the specifics, he's the guy you want to talk to. The Delaware and Lehigh, our mission is conservation, preservation, and revitalization. connections, preservation, and revitalization. Connecting the DNL trail and connecting the resources along this historic transportation path is what we do. Every day we wake up trying to figure out how do we connect the resources along the path that anthracite coal once traveled from mine to market, and how can we use that to better our communities and keep them sustainable into the future. Well, we come up with a lot of projects, trail projects, conservation projects, interpretation, things like that. But we can't do anything without partners. And in Carbon County, the Carbon County Commissioners have been integral to that. And in this case, DCNR, who could not be here today because of meetings in Harrisburg, Dennis DeMera and Lauren Posinger in particular, are integral. PennDOT, because as I'll explain, parts of this connectivity project involve road crossings. Lehighton Borough is key to it. East Penn Township, Wilson Contractors, and Frank Potosiak, who is a private landowner whose cooperation we needed. This project is it's a grant of $208,000 and $208 that will build the connections along the DNL trail that will connect it. Right now, we have stretches of trail. We have the Lehigh Gorge State Park, which is about 26 miles. We have the stretch right behind us that gets to Jim Thorpe. Then we cross over the river and we go from Lehighton down to East Penn, and then from East Penn to the Lehigh Gap. But in between those trail sections, there's gaps, there's road crossings. There are parts of the trail that are not complete. And this project is going to make those connections. And we could not do this, and this is what's particularly exciting about this particular project. It took some smarts and commitment on the part of our local partners, Lehighton Borough in particular, Jim Diebel from their municipal authority, working with our trail manager, came up with the idea of restoring the access road that the contractors were using to build the Turnpike Bridge. And they were asked, as a condition of using this property of Lehighton Borough, to restore it to the specifications of the DNL Trail. And as a result, and that's the new section that we dedicated earlier this fall, stretching from East Penn Township to Lehighton Borough. And as a result, we were able to use the value of that construction, $208,200, as the match for this grant. And so, again, going to Carbon County and asking them the commissioners, if they would be the applicant for this project. We couldn't do this without those kinds of partnerships. And that's pretty much, people wonder, what does the DNL do? Well, we facilitate those kinds of partnerships so that we can maximize the impact of the local commitment, with other public and private dollars. And so this is, hats off to Lehighton Borough, hats off to the county commissioners, hats off to staff and to make this happen. There is a map over here that shows the specifics, and afterwards I think Scott can come up and if you want to talk about the specifics of what's happening. But basically, we're getting safe pedestrian. We're getting going a little further north here on the Weisport to Jim Thorpe section. We're making the crossing across the bridge from Weisport over to Lehighton, over the bridge, then back a switchback behind the Castle Grill, and then onto the municipal authority road, and the DNL trail then continues south from there. I have to point out that John here rode up from Slatington, and so people are already doing this, and he's from South Allentown. We have representation here from Slatington. Mayor Niedermeyer is here. He knows what it's begun to do for having the trail in their community has done. And so we hope to see that continue here in Carbon County. Representative Heffley mentioned tourism. Tourism is very important, and those dollars that come in from people that are from outside the area When they come to ride, they stay a day, they stay 2 days, they're staying a week, they're camping, they're buying things at the local stores, they're buying things at Walmart, they're getting gas, they're eating, they're staying at our lodging facilities. But this trail is also used by our local residents. You come here, and I'm sure many of you realize this, if you come here to this trailhead any day of the week, you will see people fishing, riding their bikes, walking their strollers, their children down this trail. So it's really a win-win situation. Not only does it help with the economy, but it's also a value added for residents and a value added for other businesses and companies that might be looking to come here to relocate. So that's why it's part of the economic development piece. Now, I want to mention something. This might be one of our last big grants, I'm told. The policies are changing. The funding is changing. The D&L's rising to the occasion. We've been getting additional private funding, more and more each year. However, these are new tests for us, and we're doing everything in our capacity to do it. But last week, I had a conversation with some of my counterparts at Carbon County Partners for Progress, and they actually have created a challenge. They've made a donation of $2,500 to the D&L to help support the Lehighton office and to help support our efforts in Carbon County. And they put that out not as a one-time contribution, but really as a challenge to the businesses and the private citizens of Carbon County to become members and begin to offer donations to the nonprofit that is the D&L. Because in the past, we're making this transition. People always thought of us as being this government agency. Well, we're no longer government. We're a nonprofit, and we're seeking reauthorization, but our funding is every bit as tenuous as everybody else's. So with that, we have a little challenge in front of us, and this is very exciting. I want to be able to turn it over now to our state senators from Y to Z, to Y to A to Y. And I will ask you to please, at your first convenience, get your tail on the trail.
Did you know that Violet Oakley was the first female artist to receive a large commission for artwork done in a United States Capitol building? In 1902, Joseph Houston, designer and architect for the 3rd Harrisburg Capitol building, commissioned Violet Oakley to paint murals for the governor's reception room. He believed that Oakley's contribution would add interest to the building and act as an encouragement of women of the state. Prior to beginning her work for the Capitol, Oakley set out to England to conduct research for her murals. Upon return, she decided to center her artwork on William Penn and the founding of Pennsylvania. Oakley made sure that Penn's ideals of justice and peace could be seen throughout her work. In 1906, she completed 13 murals titled The Founding of the State of Liberty Spiritual and was placed in sequential order around the governor's reception room. These murals were some of the first to be installed in the Capitol. When Edwin Austin Abbey, another artist for the Capitol, died in 1911, Oakley was offered another opportunity to create murals for the unfinished Senate and Supreme Court chambers. Her work on the Senate murals, including International Understanding, was completed by 1919. Oakley then completed the Supreme Court murals, including the Divine Law, by 1927. Oakley is said to be the principal artist for the Capitol, with a total of 43 murals on display. She remains one of the greatest muralists in the United States. Now you know.
Did you know that the state capitol is not only the epicenter of the Commonwealth's governing bodies, but was once home to 390 preserved Civil War flags? During the war, it was customary for each state to furnish their regiments in battle with flags representing their contribution to the Union Army. After the war, Pennsylvania's military department was responsible for collecting the flags, and in 1872, they were reverently housed in the Capitol. Following the completion of construction on the new Capitol building in 1914, the Civil War flags were removed to the Capitol Rotunda. They were kept untouched in custom-made flag cases until 1982, when the Capitol Preservation Committee initiated its Save the Flags project. Throughout the years, dust and long-term vertical display of the flags had begun to devastate the brittle silk fabric and painted designs. The flags were removed by local textile conservators and were repaired and preserved in storage units that protect the relics from light, dust, and excessive handling. Now you know.
Senator Udicek.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here in Carbon County with the Friends of the Delaware and Lehigh Heritage Corridor. Today is about numbers, about something tangible, $500,000, nearly $560,000, nearly $500,000 in state grant money for the D&L Trail. It's about nearly $10 million of economic impact annually for Carbon County, and billions of dollars on a statewide basis in terms of heritage tourism. So it's about numbers and what those investments mean for the people of Carbon County. But it's also about something intangible. And I think it was touched on earlier. This amenity, this asset for Carbon County, what that means to the quality of life for the communities from the Lehigh Gap to the Lehigh Gorge. Not just the tourists that it attracts to our great region, our beautiful region, but also the quality of life that it adds to these great communities. Think about those intangible qualities of parents with their children biking along this trail, friends and neighbors walking along on a Sunday afternoon. What that adds to the quality of life cannot be quantified. So these investments, that's nearly $500,000 investment, is so important to the quality of life here in northeastern Pennsylvania, specifically here in Carbon County. And when I was thinking about that intangible, how do you quantify an investment of this nature in your community? And I couldn't help but think of our President Thomas Jefferson, who I guess with the Louisiana Purchase probably is credited with creating the largest trail system in the history of America. But he once said that walking through Paris gives you lessons in history, beauty, and the point of life. That same quotation could be used today in talking about the D&L Trail. The beauty and grandeur of Carbon County really awakens the soul and inspires us to do more, to do better for our families, to do better for the citizens of Carbon County. Today, with this investment in heritage tourism, we continue to make progress in making Carbon County and northeastern Pennsylvania a better place to live. I'm proud and honored to join my colleagues, Representative Heffley, Senator Argel, the managers of the corridor, our county commissioners here in Carbon County, and all the local partners that make these kind of investments a reality. Thank you for investing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Thank you for investing in Carbon County.
John and I think we're both surprised in moving from the House to the Senate to learn that there were just as many committees in the Senate as there were in the House, even though there's so many fewer of us. And one of my favorite committees is the Committee on Community, Economic, and Recreational Development. Community, Economic, and Recreational Development. It's all together. It's like that pasta sauce. If you take one or two ingredients out, it just wouldn't be the same. And I think that we get it. We understand. Certainly, Elisa has taught me how those components work together. Paul Fogel has taught me again and again how those components work together, not just in Carbon County, but in all the counties of Pennsylvania. But I think this could be Exhibit A for how well those components do add not just to the quality of life, but to the quality of the economy. When we opened the last piece of trail earlier this year, just on the other side of Lehighton, I had promised that I would come back. And just a few days later, my wife and my two dogs, Wolfie and Maggie, visited that trail. And I was amazed on that day how many people were using that trail. People with dogs, people without dogs, people with bikes, people without bikes, and even a few brave people with bikes and dogs. I'm not that brave. My dogs would be there, and I suspect I might have to follow them. There might be some broken bones, and they'd probably belong to me. My dogs just aren't as well behaved as some of the dogs I saw on that trail. But certainly, I will be back again to enjoy this trail, not as a senator, but as Maggie and Wolfie's partner, I guess. And it's a wonderful opportunity, I think, for all of the local people. But as you understand, we don't just share this with the local people. We will see people from all over utilizing this beautiful spot. And so my congratulations to anyone who had a part in making today a reality.
If we could have the county commissioners, Tom, Wayne, if you'd like to say a few words.
On behalf of the Carbon County Commissioner, it's certainly an honor for me to be here today. I, too, congratulate everyone involved with the D&L Trail here today. We have one more missing link over in Jim Thorpe, the pedestrian bridge. Hopefully that will become a reality also, but I can assure everyone here in Carbon County and all of the other people using this wonderful facility that the Carbon County Commissioners will continue to do what we can to help Carbon County thrive and prosper in the future. Thank you.
Well, in closing, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and I can share one of my experiences. I know the senators talked about their time that they spent on the trail. My father had grown up in Weisport, not far from here, and as a young man, we would come up here quite a bit and camp out. Did quite a bit of fishing and walking before the trail was officially designated. So, I still bring my children up from time to time and walk and bike on the trail. So it is definitely an asset to the entire community. Anybody that's interested in finding out more facts as to what this funding will be utilized for, Elisa does have additional fact sheets and new brochures to the program. I know we have quite a few folks here that are anxious to get back on their bikes and ride a little bit more today. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And I'm very excited to make this announcement today here on behalf of the state, our governor, along with the senators, our local officials, and the D&L corridor. Thank everybody for coming out, and welcome you to have a great day on the trail today. Thanks.
Did you know that there are 6 ornate bronze chandeliers hanging in the House chamber? The 4 large chandeliers are estimated to weigh 3 tons each. Yet these iron and brass fixtures painted in 18-karat gold manage to dangle effortlessly. It takes 168 light bulbs to light the large chandeliers and 84 light bulbs on each of the smaller chandeliers. As you can imagine, changing the light bulbs when they burn out is far from easy. Workers must build scaffolding in order to reach their 1,450 light bulbs. Today, special, long-life, low-wattage energy-saving bulbs are used to lessen the amount of times that the light bulbs will need to be replaced. Now you know.
I'm now here with Judy Borger, the Director of the Office of Planning and Development for Carbon County. And Judy, if you could just explain a little bit the significance of this additional funding to the trail and what it means for Carbon County.
This is huge. As Director of the Office of Planning and Development, I work with all the communities in the development of their sort of long-range plans, comprehensive plans, and a part of that is recreation. And also part is addressing economic development. I also serve on the board of the Delaware and Lehigh Heritage Corridor, and sort of one of my goals, both as a county employee and serving on that board, has been to get all the connections to that trail, to this trail through here, so that it actually impacts economic development even to a greater degree than it does now. We're very, very close now to having a 30-mile trail through Carbon County, which is just huge for Carbon County. And the funding that you just announced this morning takes care of two very key connection pieces that we need. The one here in Weissport that will go into Lehighton. Lehighton Borough actually has been a very active partner in putting a trailhead there with parking provided to attract people then into the borough, which will give economic development relief to the borough of Lehighton as well. The other is really a safety issue. The other connection that this provides funding for is to cross the 895 route down at the bridge down at Bowmanstown, and I really had some concerns sort of about the safety of bikers and hikers traveling there. So they're huge projects for not a large amount of money. And then we have the pedestrian bridge, and then we've got our connection through Carbon County, which will be huge economic impact for the county. No question about that.
Well, thank you, Judy.
You're
and,
welcome.
We're here this morning on a rather brisk morning, but we still have quite a few folks out here.
We did. Had a
riding
great
today,
crowd.
And,
great crowd.
Right behind us is the I don't know the lock number here, but this is the canal and the toll path.
It is indeed.
Which is now the Delaware Lehigh National Corridor and the rails to trails part of that program. So thank you very much
You're
for
very
coming
welcome.
out with us on
Thanks
this
for having
brisk
me.
day, and we'll thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
You've been watching a press conference announcing grants that will support our trails, parks, and other recreational opportunities in Carbon County. We are very excited to get these projects started, as tourism is a top industry in Carbon County. For more legislative information, feel free to contact me at my district offices or visit my website or Facebook page. My contact information will be provided on the television screen at the end of this segment. Thank you for tuning in to my program. Take care.